So, this is the first lecture of the new year for the Ancient Medieval History class on Monday, January 4th, 2021. It's going to be a while before I get used to saying that. Some housekeeping. You slide over one, please. You guys make a little more space between the two of you. Maybe, yeah. Okay, you're fine. You guys are fine. You guys are fine for now. Elizabeth. I guess this can work. You slide over a little more this way. You too. We'll see how it goes. I reserve the right to move people if I think that it's too crowded in places, or if I think certain combinations of people would be a problem. Let's see. What else? Does anyone not have the December 10th version of the syllabus, which includes your current assignments? Okay. So, here you go. Who else?
I probably do, but I'm not taking any chances.
Not taking any chances makes sense to me. Here you go. We'll pass that on to Mr. Rassick. There's yours. And there's yours. And there's yours. These two pieces of paper like each other very much. Here, can you take one? Give it to him. Anyone else need one? Okay. So, on this syllabus, you will take note, please. Pull that back. That on the top of page 2, which is where we are, there was nothing due today. However, this coming Monday, the 11th of January, 2021, Chapter Survey 555 is due. So, please make sure you get it in on time, Monday of next week. Now, you all have your new note pack, the one with the map of Italy on it, on the front, as drawn by me online. Online, what I will do is I will include an attachment that has the new note pack there that you can use. What is that?
I need a note pack.
You could have come up here and gotten one like everyone else.
I got my late, so I didn't hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, let's see what we've done and what we're going to do. In Unit 1, we covered the origins of the created universe and many different theories on that. We did the creation myths of Big Bang evolution and of Genesis, of the Zoroastrians, and many others. The truth is, where the universe comes from is sort of a mystery, and you got to take whatever you can on faith, including science. Because most people don't understand the science, and science just deals in theories anyway. So, faith. What we do know is that human civilization doesn't start out civilized. We begin as a species around the world in a state of savagery. The law of force, the strong get what they want, the weak get victimized. People hunt if they're men and gather if they're women, and travel around following the herds and stripping the land like a bipedal locust swarm. From this humble beginning in the Paleolithic era, humans begin to develop. Now, there's a prime invention that we get early in the Paleolithic, according to evolution, before current-day humans even exist. And that is the mastery, to the extent we have it, of fire. Now, I say to the extent we have it because if we really mastered fire, would we need fire departments? But we do, so we only sort of master fire. And we hope, we try to keep our best attention to make sure that we don't cause needless and uncontrolled fires. But mastering fire is key. The development of spoken language, which is a product of the most recent spate in our physical evolution, according to evolutionary theory. That revolutionizes human life. And between 10 and 12,000 years ago, in the Middle East anyway, and in China, the development of farming. the domestication of plants, the agricultural revolution, which creates this pyramid structure where between 70 and 95% of the people are food producers, sedentary farmers, and 5 to 30% of the people are everything else. Soldiers, sailors, candlestick makers, priests, monks, nuns, kings, craftsmen of all kinds, blacksmiths. Many of them live in towns. Some of them are artists. But 70 to 95% of the people need to produce food so that 5 to 30% of the people can do other things with their lives. These three big discoveries make human civilization possible. You combine mastery of fire and other high-tech things, the coordination made possible by language and farming, and soon you end up with settlements so large that if trade broke down, most people would die. That's cities. That is the early civilizations. We then, in Unit 1, went on to talk about the nature of these pre-classical river valley civilizations. These civilizations being in Sumer in southern Iraq, the oldest civilization in the world, and then in China, in India, in other river valleys. And these river valley civilizations, pre-classical ones anyway, tend towards certain broad characteristics. Number one, they're in floodplains, not because they're stupid, but because that's where the best farmland is. Number two, they tend to be religious unities of church and state. In other words, the king is either a god himself or closely aligned with a priesthood. The reason the king is ruler is because the gods have mated it so. And because the gods have mated it so, they rule over us, and their rule is legitimate. They have the moral right to rule because the gods said so. So you have these large empire river valley civilizations, and they produce the first calendars that are solar. Pre-civilized people, like the makers of Stonehenge, who we know very little about, they weren't Celts. The Celts were invaders that came after Stonehenge was built. Pre-civilized people made lunar calendars, and they tried to make calendars that dealt with the sun, but the first effective solar calendar was Egyptian. Why is a solar calendar important? Because without it, you don't... Yes?
The harvest.
Exactly. You don't know when to plant, you don't know when to harvest, and if you live in a pre-classical or pre-industrial society, your farming is basically just over subsistence level. So if you don't get what you should get out of those fields, people are going to die. People you know are going to die. Maybe you are going to die of starvation, which is an unpleasant way to go. So that's Unit 1. From creation to the river valley civilizations of the pre-classical epoch. Then, Unit 2 was about our grandfather or great-grandfather civilization, that of Greece. Greece is one of the origins of Western civilization. Oh, we dealt with the Jews and the Hebrews, and they are another origin of Western civilization. They were talked about in Unit 1. Unit 2. We talked about why Greece was different, why its geography prevented the rise of a unitary empire. We talked about the rise and fall of civilizations, the Dorian Dark Age, and the idea that Homer had, that the new civilization being born should not just be about practicality. It should aspire to something wondrous and noble and fascinating and creative. And so the poli that were built by the Hellenes before 500 BC and their colonies made every polis, every city-state, a lens of creativity. Something designed to bring out the creative qualities in each of the people that lived there. The agora, the marketplace of goods, services, and ideas. The temple where you contemplate the infinite and come together as a community. The amphitheater where you live the lives of people that never were in order to understand your own life. Understanding through the study of Oedipus or of Electra or of Odysseus or of Antigone. Because it's just that important to have plays, comedies and tragedies. It's just that important. It's worth building this massive stone ear flat on the ground into a hillside. Because by seeing the plight of others, we can learn more about how we can live our lives better. Books, literature, the stories of Homer, the fables of Aesop, all of that. And we focused on the struggle of the Greeks against the giant world empire of Persia. The struggle of free men against slaves. A struggle that Greece won against all odds. And a struggle which Greece further won when, under the Macedonian Alexander, the Greeks conquered Persia. We talked about the turning point battles of Marathon and Thermopylae and Salamis and Plataea. We talked about how one person can change the course of the history of the entire world using Pheidippides, the first marathon runner, as an example. Had he not gotten to Athens in time, things would have been bad. While I'm talking, I need a few people to hand out work. Please raise your hand if you're willing to. If I don't get enough volunteers, I'll just pick people, but I'd rather pick volunteers. So,
There's behind over you. Here.
There are? Good. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Who else? Please pass this back to Ari. And who else? Thank you. Please pass this back to her. Remind me of your name. That's Hal Davis. Thank you. Anyone who's not here, please put the work in this folder here. Gracias. So, why does Greece matter? Comedy, tragedy, drama, and theater, democracy, not republic, democracy, medicine, science, geometry, philosophy of Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates, astronomy, atomic physics, and hydrodynamics, according to Eureka guy, Archimedes. The realization that the world is round and measuring it, as Eratosthenes would do. We get so much from the Greeks, but mostly there's something that harmonizes between the Greeks and the Jews, who didn't get along, by the way, didn't like each other very much. The Greeks and the Jews fought several wars. The Maccabees freed themselves from the Greeks. Because the Jews, frequently conquered by neighbors, culturally, they don't produce much that's unique, but they are the only worshipers of the only real God in existence. And they have a covenant with that God. That God teaches them how to live and the laws of right and wrong and good and evil, and that makes the Jews a chosen people. And the Greeks were the only truly creative people. Everyone else just takes things for granted, takes things on faith. Not us. We question. We constantly drive at understanding. We don't settle for an idea. We keep working at it until it's proved false or until it's made even stronger. We are creative in so many ways. We're oh so creative. Just look at us. What they have in common is this. God does not save groups. There's no such thing as collective salvation. God saves individuals, or invites individuals to accept his salvation. The Jewish faith absolutely deals with the importance of the individual human being. So do the Greeks. You may be a member of this, that, or the other group, but you are an individual. And the individual is where the creativity happens. You don't expect a committee of people to be creative. They're incapable of it. Committees, by their nature, are about compromise. Genuine creativity does not compromise. It experiments. So the Greeks give us this spark. And the Jews give us this sense of the pricelessness and preciousness of each and every individual human life. And those are both hallmarks of Western civilization. Okay, where are we going? Unit 3 deals with three basic things: the Roman Republic, the Christian faith, and the Roman Empire, in that order. The Roman Republic is what our founding fathers chose as our model. The U.S. Constitution is based not on Athenian ideas, but on Roman ideas. Because our founders, I think rightly, saw the Athenians as inherently unstable and their democracy as a failed experiment. But the Republic lasted for 500 years. The Republic in Rome is twice as old and more than the United States, the American Republic is. 133 years old? Since 1788, since the first presidential election. 2021 minus 1788. I think it's something like 200.
Are we including the year 2021 right now?
Yes, might as well.
It'd be like 213 years, I think.
80?
You said 1788, right?
1788 to 2021.
That's 200. That's 212, and then plus 2021 would be 200. No.
I don't see it as 12 though, because 88
But
plus
from-
12 is 2000 is 1900 or 1800.
It would
Yeah,
have to
but if you go from 2000 to 1900, that's 100 years. 1900 to 1800, that's another 100 years. Then between 1800, it's
Yeah.
not 12. It's
It's 20. Yeah.
It's 233. It's 233.
Yeah.
233.
Yeah.
I
That's look. I hate math, but I'll tell you something. What you just did is what I do with math, which is I try to figure it out. And it's those of you who are good at math, you've taken what your math teachers have taught you and you've remembered it, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. I mean, you may be good at math. I don't know.
I'm
But
horrible at math. I'm sorry, algebra for a reason.
I have to constantly reinvent things because I don't remember what my math teachers taught me. So those of you who are good at math, hoorah!
I
Yes.
think it's about 1,253.
What?
I think.
What?
No, it's not 1,000.
I
I
don't
think
know
you're
what
doing a different process.
So
Yeah.
it's 233 years since the first presidential election. If you
Okay.
actually do this.
1788. 1,000.
Bad at math.
It's okay. Thank you for trying.
I just started
No,
lying.
Yeah.
it is 233 years.
There's a reason. Okay, I've taught I've taught English, I've taught history, and I'm okay at both. Not math. If you ever have me as your math teacher, just forget about it. It's
No,
not-
I don't
not
know how
gonna-
to subtract apparently.
I'll reduce to the count of counting. 1, 2, 3. In any event, the Roman Republic has a working model for balancing the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. Now, in our society, you hear people talking all the time. This is my right. That's my right. Sometimes they're right. If they're saying I have a right to free speech in this context because it's political speech, yeah, you do. I have a right to be to a certain basic standard of living. No, not according to our system. If we were communist, you would, but then again, you'd have no freedom. So I know how communism has turned out. Usually, it's not something the people who live under it really like. Freedom. Where's I going? This? Yeah. Balancing rights and responsibilities. You also have a responsibility. You owe it to your country. If we're at war and your country calls on you to serve in the military, to go if you're called. That's called conscription or the draft. And thanks to feminism, it's entirely possible that if we get into a major land war in Asia, you women will be drafted as well. Ain't equality grand. Personally, I find the idea horrific. Because the enemy will not be gentle to American females who fall into their hands alive. They've never been gentle to American females who fall into their hands alive. But not only do you have an obligation to serve if called in a war, you have an obligation to respect and obey the law. See, we can disagree about almost everything in this country, but we are obliged to believe in what the flag represents. And that flag represents the Constitution. And the Constitution is where our rights come from. Now, we say our rights come from God, and that's a statement of faith, but our rights in terms of law proceed from the Constitution. All of them do. You call into question the Constitution, you call into question all of our freedom. We get our Constitution largely from the Roman Republic. We get the idea of having freedom but also duty from the Roman Republic. We also have a model for what can go wrong with our type of society from the Roman Republic. The Romans and us, many, many differences, but many, many similarities. And they gave up on freedom. The story that most history classes will tell is how the dictators and the emperors stole the freedom of the people of Rome. That's not what happened. You will learn how the people of Rome chose to give away their freedom because it was too much of a burden. They wanted to be taken care of by Big Daddy Augustus. They wanted the peace and prosperity that he promised. Freedom had become too difficult, too heavy a burden, too divisive, too much argument, too much time. And so they just gave it away. If it happened to them, it can happen to us. And that's a lesson every free person should know. How the Romans gave up freedom for security. Christianity. I am not going to talk about Christianity to try to make you into Christians. Either you are or you aren't. That's your situation and your choice. And as life goes on in the future, your answer may change. You may be a devout person now who 5 years from now has everything called into question. Or you may be an atheist now who suddenly realizes that there's every reason to believe in a loving God. It depends on what happens. But that's your business. I don't really care what you believe. I'm going to teach you about Christianity as a force in history. Because whether you are a Christian or whether you even like Christians, a good part of your freedom comes from the Christian notion that we are each made in God's image and that we can be free. Christianity, this is a complex thing, deals with this strange question. If you were guaranteed that in the end everything was going to be all right, and you didn't have to be desperate or afraid about anything, not beyond a certain point, how would you live your life differently than if you were just in the struggle for survival? If you basically knew that everything was going to be okay, how would you live differently? That question can lead to freedom. I'm explaining that badly, but it's not really about what you believe or what I believe. It's about what they believed. Christianity starts out as a basement full of people 2 days after Jesus' crucifixion. Jesus was a historical figure. I saw that Amazon's Alexa, you ask, who is the Prophet Muhammad? And Alexa goes into this long dissertation about how the Prophet Muhammad helped found Islam by having revelations from Allah and how he wrote the Quran. Who is Jesus Christ? Quote, a fictional character, unquote. I hate the big tech companies. I really do. A, because that's deeply prejudiced against Christians and towards Muslims. But B, it's factually untrue. Jesus of Nazareth, Yeshua bar Joseph, is a historical figure. He lived, he died. Whether he was the Son of God, whether he is the Messiah, any of that stuff, whether he did magical miracles, that's a question of faith. But Yeshua bar Joseph, Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus, son of Joseph, did exist. He is a historical figure. Yes?
I may not believe in God personally, but there is proof that Jesus did exist. I believe that he existed, even if I don't believe that he was godlike or that he was a child of God. But there is very clear recordings that he was a real person.
Of course.
He had a huge impact on a bunch of people. He was not just a fictional character that showed up one day claiming to be the son of God and then died.
Yeah.
That's not who he was.
No, and I completely agree. Look, Prince Gautama, who became the booty. I'm a Buddhist. Who became a Buddha? The Buddha. Thank you, those of you at home, for tuning in. Prince Gautama, who became the Buddha, was a real person. Zoroaster, who founded Zoroastrianism, was a real person. Confucius, who founded Confucian philosophy, a real person. Jesus of Nazareth, a real person. Moses was a real person. So was Abraham. These are all real people. Whether you believe all the religious truth or ideals about them, that's... But no, Jesus was not a fictional character. Alexa, you're wrong. Jesus was a real individual. Christianity starts out as a basement... Yes, please.
Well, this is about like the Alexa thing. A lot of the times, people like I have an Alexa, it probably just got the answers from different sources. Like it's not like Amazon gives it all the answers. It just like looks it up, or sometimes it has people answer it. So it's not always like a.
That's good to know, because what I'm afraid of is that tech companies in general have a certain point of view, a left-wing progressive point of view. And they're already censoring social media, calling people who believe different things liars or false in terms of the fact. That's not true. Belief is not the same as fact. I would rather it just be a result of an accident than a result of somebody at Amazon deciding that Alexa will be woke in all of her answers about things. If you want, as an experiment, and I'll give you extra credit for this, go home, ask those 2 questions, and maybe about some other religious figures too, and tell me what answers you get. I would be interested, really. Thank you. Yes?
You think one? I'd have to do it with my Alexa, but it usually just pulls up Wikipedia. So odds are, if you Google Wikipedia, and went to Jesus, it'd probably just say a fictional character, and then go on. It could be pulling it from somewhere else. So if it is from Wikipedia, technically you could change it.
I know.
It might not last.
Well, and this is why, again, I think Wikipedia is fun for looking up stuff on Star Trek or Doctor Who. But the fact is, or Star Wars, it's not suitable for real research because it's an opinion form. Yeah.
Also, the irony, Jeff Bezos, the head of Amazon.
Yeah.
The irony, if he was a left wing and the entire left wing hates him for being so rich, that would just be very ironic.
Yeah, but look, Bezos he contributes to Democrats and liberal and socialist causes. So does Zuckerberg of Facebook. So does that bearded guy who runs Twitter. Who's the bearded guy?
Oh, there's a lot of bearded guys out there.
No, I mean he has this long. He was recently before Congress. In any case, there is somebody who YouTube. YouTube
the CEO
takes yeah.
I can't remember her name, but
okay,
it's a woman.
That's a woman. No, it's not her then, because she doesn't have this big beard. Although she really challenged gender stereotypes if she did. Anyway, were you done? Okay. The point is this. It's not about what you or I believe, it's about what they believe. You start out with a basement full of people, shuddering after Jesus is crucified and their world is destroyed. And 300 years later, it's the religion of the Roman Empire, the known world. And during those 300 years, that basement full of people to the official religion of the Roman Empire has been the primary target of the Roman imperial government for persecution. The Roman government tried again and again to wipe Christianity out. And the more they tried, the more it succeeded. So Christianity is important because of what it says about human life and individualism. But it's also important for this reason. When the Roman Empire falls in the West, the only thing that survives intact is the Christian church. Because of that, you know how rainbow drops are formed? There's a little piece of dust floating up there and things cool down and water coheres around the drop and it gets heavy and it falls as rain. The drop of dust that survives the ancient world that our entire Western civilization forms around is Christianity. Christianity is that important. Judeo-Christian values are at the heart of Western civilization. So to understand us, you need to understand Christianity. Yes? Okay. The third thing that we're going to be studying is the Roman Empire. And the reason that is different from the Roman Republic is, first of all, it's an empire, not a republic. But second of all, the Roman Empire basically is the known world. Outside of the Roman Empire, in ancient times, you've got wilderness to the north of you. You've got wilderness to the northeast of you. You've got to the southeast of you, the only bordering country, which is either called Parthia or Persia. Then you've got desert to the south of you and ocean to the west of you. The known world outside of Persia is the Roman Empire and the barbarians that surround it. And this is the direct ancestor of what forms in the Dark Ages, the early Middle Ages, as our first Western civilization. The Romans also deeply shape how wars are fought, how government runs, what people are and are not allowed to do. So those are the three things. And I realize I lost steam about halfway through that, so I'm sorry if my imagery was not quite as vivid as I wanted it to be. Heap big important is Roman Republic, Christianity, and Roman Empire. And me will teach you heap big important things about those, so that you will understand at the end what the Romans have to do with us. And their choice to develop freedom and then give it up is only a part of that story. Now, look at the front page of your notes. We're going to start working on the geography of Italy. Remember, geography is the bones of history. This little map I've made here. I can draw pretty well freehand, but drawing with a computer mouse is not the same thing.
It's like a Picasso painting.
Yeah, so what we've got is sort of a stylized map of Italy and the area. The first thing that you've got to know about Roman geography is this. Centrality matters. Centrality matters. Centrality matters. If you look on page 2, oh, no, forget that. So, if you look at the Italian boot, Rome is about halfway up it. Item 6, that circular thing, that's the city of Rome. And Rome is about halfway between the southern terminus of the Italian peninsula and the Po River Valley up near the top. Rome in the center of Italy. And Italy is in the center of the Mediterranean Sea. Now, being central can be a good thing because, well, everything's nearby because you're in the middle of everything. It's a blessing if you are strong, stronger than your neighbors. Because if you're strong, being central, you can expand out equally in all directions and take over the natural area. You know where it's not a good idea to be central? When you're weaker than your enemies. In ancient times, you've got the country of Armenia. And Armenia and Kurdistan is right around here, where the Romans met the Persians. So, for 1,000 years of history, Armenia is like a game of hot potato. The country that's stronger, whether it's the Mediterranean country, Greece or Rome, or Persia or Parthia, controls Armenia. And it's basically on a prime invasion route. So whenever there's a war between the Middle East and the Mediterranean world, soldiers and armies pass through Armenia. Frankly, Israel. Whenever somebody wants to move from Syria to Egypt or back again, while the chosen people were in the Holy Land, they had their land conquered. Poland in modern history. Poland has the horrible bad luck of being located between the Germans and the Russians. Now, you will learn in history just how bad a location that is. That's like a midget wrestler being between John Cena and, I don't know, I was going to say The Rock or Stone Cold Steve Austin, but I haven't watched wrestling in a while. Who's the big bad of, Batista? Oh, he's old, too. He's in movies now.
I don't know who.
Who's sort of the big, scary wrestler today? Does anyone know? Or are you all too sophisticated to watch men in tights bouncing each other around a ring? It's in a choreographed dance that has nothing to do with sports, but is still very athletic. Okay, you're all sophisticated. Wrestling's not good enough for you. Fine. I'll do it in other terms. Picture Godzilla. And King Kong. And between them,
York City.
Leroy. Leroy's a guy. He's a normal person. He's not in a good spot. Because they both see him. And he's between them and each other. Poland, between Germany and Russia, the two most militaristic nations in the modern world. So, whenever Russia feels strong, it conquers Poland. Whenever Germany feels strong, it conquers Poland. Conquering Poland is like paying an ante in a poker game. It's how you get into the game. You put a buck in, you get to play. You conquer Poland, you get to fight the rest of your war. So, being central when you're weak is a very bad place to be. Luckily for Rome, Rome turns out to be, generation after generation, a bit stronger than the neighbors around it. And this is going to aid in the spread of Roman control over the Italian peninsula and in the spread of Roman control around the Mediterranean Sea. Let's look at some basic things. Okay, first of all, Italy has a central bone mass called the Apennine Mountains. Item 3 on your map. The Apennine Mountains. The Apennine Mountains are like the thigh and shin bones of the Italian leg. The Apennine Mountains stretch from the Po River Valley in the north almost to the area between the heel and the toe to the south. The Apennine Mountains are a low mountain range, but they're still not very easy to cross. On the eastern or right side of the Apennines is also some pretty rough country. Most people, if they have to go northward or southward in Italy, go on the western or left side of the Italian boot, west of the Apennine Mountains. So the Apennine Mountains is going to channel trade and movement to the west. Now, about halfway up the Italian peninsula, where the knee should be, is the Tiber River. That's item 7. What?
Yeah, Sicily and
Son of a... Okay. Yeah, well, if you look on the map, I'm telling you, so you can relabel things.
Wait, what's wrong?
Okay.
It's
Well, I was going to say, item 7. Item 7 is the Tiber River on the map. Yeah, so just see where the arrow is and the 7 is? Right. Tiber River. Tiber River. It's listed as item 8 for some reason.
Were you tired when you made this?
What?
Were you tired when you made this?
No, it's just years ago. I don't know. Like, you're perfect. I'm not perfect.
I got like 3 hours of sleep last night.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, good. Or actually, with that much sleep, you could think that everything you do is wonderful. You might be wrong, but you could think it, because not
You
much
could
sleep.
think it, but that doesn't make it right.
Right. So item 7 on the map is the Tiber River. And everyone who's going north or south in Italy has to cross it. Rome is built. I didn't get much sleep either. Rome is built on the first ford over the Tiber River. Was it a Ranger? Was it an F-150? Was it a tourist? It's a Ford car joke.
you're fine.
I'm very and trucks.
I
Yes.
didn't get it.
Ford, F-O-R-D, in geographical terms, is a shallow place where you can walk across a river. A ford is a shallow place where you can walk across a river. Ford, F-O-R-D, is a shallow place where you can walk across a river. The city of Rome is located where it is because if I've got to go across the Tiber River, I could swim across. My horses could swim across. And I could try to turn my wagons into little boaties that would also float across the Tiber. Chances are what that's going to result in is lots of dead horses and lots of ruined cargo. But it's shallow enough, there's a rock bar with sand on it, that I can walk and lead my horses and pull my carriages across the river going north or south. It's the first one up from the sea. So most of the trade and travel in Italy moving north to south, which is the directions most people are going, is going to go across this ford. So Rome is going to start out like a toll booth on a highway. Everyone's got to go through here. If they want to use the ford, they got to pay the toll. This is a natural choke point of trade, and it's the natural location for a city. So Rome was located on the first ford over the Tiber River because it's easier for people to walk across the river than it is for them to swim or build a bridge. Now, Rome is also located on 7 hills. So you will note that. The city of Rome is built on 7 hills. At first, each of these hills had its own little village, but they all came together in a kumbaya. No, they were all conquered. Oh, they chose to get together before they were conquered. Anyway, these 7 hilltop villages become the city of Rome first off. And we're going to talk about the mythical and historical foundations of Rome later. But geographically, it's built on 7 hills at the first ford over the Tiber River. Okay. South of Rome is a plain. English speakers will read it as the plain of Latium. Latin speakers will call it the plain of Latium, so I've been told. Either way, the plain of Latium or the plain of Latium is to the south. It is area 9 on your map. That little checkered area.
A lot of it's checkered.
Yeah.
It's the area below Rome.
The area below Rome, just south of Rome, is the plain of Latium.
It's where the arrow from the 9 goes.
That's right. That's why I said it's sort of area 9. So, in fact, it'll even say on the map, plain of Latium. So the only difference on the map is that 8 is Sicily and 7 is the Tiber River. So you can just change those. At least that we found so far. Now, the language that those Romans speak. Mr. Williams does not teach Roman class, does he? The Latins are so important to the history of Rome that they give their name to the language that Rome speaks. Hey, Tiberius, what language are we speaking? Roman. Oh, it's Latin. It's like us. What language do you speak? American. No, we speak English.
Well, I mean, like what we speak over here in America, considering how we pronounce things, and over in England, we do speak American.
We are two people divided by a common language. That's what a lot of people say.
We speak like a slang version of England English.
Yeah. Although there are things I like about our variant over the English.
Like how
Like what?
Well, autumn. English call the season between summer and winter autumn. I call it fall, which is an old term. It hasn't been used in English since Shakespeare's time.
I mean, like with the way our words work and whatnot.
Yeah.
If you really want to, the letters GHOTI could spell fish if you use them in the right context. Literally, it could spell fish if you use the right sounds.
OT. Interesting.
Fish.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. You can explain it sometime. Yes?
Not to play devil's advocate, but technically speaking, during the Romans' time, they did have a language called Roman. It was mainly used in writing letters, and was used to sway one's partner into becoming
One's partner.
partner.
Yeah.
And
You're speaking romantic then.
Yes.
Roman.
Yes.
Okay,
And
there is the language.
There was a romantic version of Latin that was slightly different and used in that context.
That's funny.
So it does exist.
Now, there are Roman letters. Yes, you're right about that, too. Just look it up. Many documents are printed in Times New Roman, which is a variant of Roman-style letters. Yeah, we use Latin letters, actually. That's all Latin. Okay. North of Rome is that sort of diagonally shaded area, the land of the Etruscans. The land of the Etruscans. Now, the Etruscans are a people whose writing we cannot read. So we have Etruscan artifacts. Archaeologists study the Etruscans. The Romans have a lot to say about the Etruscans because Etruscan kings first ruled Rome. But the Romans and the Etruscans are distinct people. Rome gets a lot from the Etruscans. We're going to talk about that. But the Etruscans have this region that is today called Tuscany. And it is this area north of the Tiber River and south of the Po River Valley, the land of the Etruscans. Okay. Now, off the shore, I have here the Mediterranean Sea for item 4, for the sea that is basically around the west and south of Italy, to the left and bottom of Italy. And item 1 is the Adriatic Sea, and that is behind the leg of Italy or to the east of Italy. However, we're going to do a little better than that. So here you have a map of Italy.
Big squeaky marker.
Squeaky, squeaky, squeak, squeak. There we go. And you do better. Fun of my drawing. Okay.
No, I'm just making fun of the squeaky marker.
Yeah, the foot of Sicily, of Italy is too big. Okay. Yeah, there. Good. In any case, the Mediterranean Sea is the broad name for this body of water here. However, there are 2 subseas up here. You've also got Corsica and Sardinia. Up top, you've got the Ligurian Sea. Not Seg, Sea. And down below that, how do you spell that? Tyrrhenian, T-Y-R-H, I think it is. T-Y-R, Tyrrhenian Sea. H-E-N-N-I-A-N C. Does anyone near a map want to take a look at the map at the sea to the west of Italy, Shen, and correct my spelling?
Don't fall.
Tyrrhenian Sea.
T-Y.
You can get up.
T-Y-R-R-H-E-I-A.
T-Y-R-R.
Oh, so
And you
don't
added
fall.
H.
extra N's.
Okay,
E-N-I-A.
there we
extra
go.
N's.
Thank you. I knew I was wrong, but I didn't know how. So 2 R's, H-E-N-I-A-N.
Well, at least you knew there was an H in there, so.
Yeah.
I think it comes to that.
Mediterranean Sea, and here is the Adriatic Sea. So these are the seas that you're going to be expected to know around Italy. So broadly, this area is the Mediterranean. Tyrrhenian is off southern Italy, off Naples. The Ligurian Sea is off the Etruscan coast of North Italy, between Italy and Corsica. Tyrrhenian is between Italy and Sardinia. The Adriatic Sea is to the east of Italy. Any questions on that? Okay. I gotta write this down. T-Y-R-R-H-E-N-I-A-N. Good. Now, geographically, there are some other basic things. First of all, this island here that Italy is kicking, this football that Italy is kicking. Anyone want to say what its name is? 3, 2, 1.
Sicily.
Sicily, Sicilia, where the mafia comes from. And it's true.
Really?
And yeah, that's where the mafia comes from. And north of Italy is this arc of mountains, biggest, tallest mountains in all of Europa. What mountains are these? The Alps. Well, there are the Swiss Alps, the German Alps, the Austrian Alps, the Italian Alps,
The Swiss
all
Alps
sorts of
sounds,
Alps.
The Swiss Alps sounds fancier.
It does. But just, think about how Switzerland worked hard to get the fancy reputation. The Alps shield Italy from the rest of Europe, and the last region up here is named for the Po River, the Po River Valley. And that's up here. And I got to do the mountains of let's see. What are they? Lake bones of Italy, mountains. Apennines.
Wait,
We'll continue.
how does lunch work?
What?
How's the setup for lunch?
How are we doing?
Oh, you do lunch. You're staying here today. So go get your food. Be back in 5 minutes. And on Wednesday, you're going to be free.
Wait, all
But
of us?
all of you, all of you, all of you, all of you, stay, stay, stay. So be back here in 5 minutes on this day. If you need to go get your food.
You want
What
to
happens on Thursdays
how
and Wednesdays?
she and Tuesday?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you have
We're
to
here Monday,
change the enough that
We're
way
outside.
Okay, so that makes sense.
you have to take the
That's
over
not
to make the I sound, and then you take the nation and together those sounds.
Where did you learn?
Where did I learn this from? A meme.
That's hilarious.
Okay, ask my brother for that
What?
shit, and I got mad at him.
That's hilarious.
my-
It is. It's twisted.
My best friend Kathleen, she sent that to me. She sent that to me, and she's been sending it to me every 3 weeks for the past year.
Thank you, Alex.
Oh, so I was gonna bring up.
Oh, hi. You at home can go away now.